live on YouTube. I had to modify it. Okay, I think we are ready to go. Sorry for the technical delays.
So this is Bruce. Since we don't have a quorum, are we obligated to go through all of the consent agenda, et cetera?
The EDTEC Commission, we do have a quorum.
Oh, okay.
If you click on the bottom of your screen, there's a deal that says participants. And if you click on that, it'll bring up a list of the participants. And we do have a quorum between Doug is in the attendees list and Kyle is without video in the participants list.
Okay. So can we call a meeting to order?
Yes.
All right, let's call the meeting to order and then take a roll call. Kyle Tarbett. Kyle.
I'm here.
Okay. Greg Dorn.
He'll be back on in a little bit.
Okay.
I'm here.
Thank you, Greg. And Doug Case.
Here.
Bruce Moorhead and Sanders.
Good afternoon, I'm here.
Thank you, Susan. Chris Murray.
He is not here.
Okay, and Kelly Lean is not present.
No, she requested to be excused.
Jennifer Fuchs.
I believe she is attempting to join at the moment.
Okay. Do we want to wait for Jennifer to join?
She's here. She's here on the phone. I just need to allow her to speak. Jennifer, if you can hear us, if you hit *6, is that what it is? *6 will unmute you.
Okay.
Great. Okay, thank you, Jennifer. I think that's everybody.
We do also have 2 of our planning commissioners here.
Okay, can they announce themselves? Is that John and
So Randall Brennis Marua.
And Todd Rice.
thank you, Randall and Todd. Thank you. Okay, so we go to public comment.
Yes, and we do not have anyone in attendance, either virtual or in person. No
Okay.
attendees, so no public comments. Unless, of course, one of you want to make a statement.
Okay, hearing none, can we approve the agenda for June 6th, even though it's June 13th?
Oh,
Oops.
A motion to approve today's agenda.
I move that we approve.
Second,
I second.
all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
to do me a favor, since we've got so many people not on screen and I can't watch everybody, Can you say your name when you make a motion or second? Because I have no idea who did that.
Doug made the
Doug
motion.
Case.
And I believe Kyle was the one that said.
Who seconded that?
It was me. It was Kyle.
Thanks, Kyle. Okay, can we get a motion to approve the minutes from May 2nd's meeting?
Did we vote on that?
Yes, it was all ayes.
So, yeah.
Sorry.
It's all right. Motion to approve May 2nd's meeting minutes.
This is Kyle. I move that we approve the May 2nd minutes.
Second?
Name, please.
Well, I'm sorry, that was me asking for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, can someone please second the motion?
Jenny,
Doug
second.
Case also.
I think Jenny seconded. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, how does that make it easier for you, Lisa?
Yeah,
Okay. And do we need a motion to excuse the absence of Commissioner Lean?
yeah, since you're doing them all separately, yeah.
Okay, how about how about we get a motion to approve the rest of the consent agenda 203 and 204? Can I get a
So
motion?
moved. This is
Yeah.
Doug.
Thanks, Doug. A second, please.
This is Kyle. I second.
We have no guest presentations. We are moving to the action agenda, is that correct?
I need a vote on that motion that's on the table.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I, all those in favor of approving the rest of the consent agenda 203 and 204, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Lisa.
Thank you.
So the Downtown Catalyst Incentive Program tweak.
Okay, thank you, Bruce. I'm gonna go over this recommended change to downtown catalyst code, and it would be great if you could all recommend it. So as you may recall, this was about 2 years ago to try to spur economic development on College Avenue. We came up with this program whereas projects could be ranked based on like how much they meet the design guidelines, public art, other public amenities, and upon the gradings, if it's sufficient, essentially grading permit fees and some building permit fees could be waived. Two of the conditions though on it at the time of the code passage was saying a minimum of 5 residential units as well as 3,000 square feet of commercial space. The issue at hand here is with some of the bizarre shapes of the lots on College Avenue, we are finding that developers who want to do the investments on College Avenue, that being able to do both of them isn't conducive. So there have been multiple requests about like a either or, where essentially it could be the 5 residential dwelling units or the 3,000 square feet of commercial space, because we have folks interested in investing. It's just as it is currently constituted with the shape of the lots, it's causing issues. And I believe if we do this minor change, and it's in 3.50.020 in the municipal code, it'll actually be used. This code has sat this way for about the last 2 years. So that's what's leading me to think that we need to tweak it to reflect some of the demands that we're hearing out in the development community, so it actually gets used. And whether we have commercial or we have residential, it's still getting people into a core of the community, which will help with business retention and recruitment in our downtown district. So that's the change before you all. A recommendation of council to alter that language where it's the 5 residential units or the 3,000 square feet of commercial space.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the recommended change to the incentive program code?
So moved. This is Doug.
Can I get a second?
This is Kyle. I second.
And all those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Staff reports, multifamily tax exemption.
Hey, thank you. I'll introduce this, and then John and Greg, if you can all add into this, because this is really a meat of having the joint meeting today. So up until really last year, unless you were a city above 20,000 or in a county above 100,000 or a county seat, you couldn't even entertain doing multifamily tax exemption. And the purpose of this program is to try to further affordable housing units. And then you're able to provide it, as long as those goals are maintained, then you can actually offer essentially a reduction in property tax. City of Walla Walla has done this. They're currently tweaking it. That Evergreen housing development over by the Safeway on Rose Street, that participated in this program. Our community development director went to a conference last year, and we found that deep within the definition of a city within the multifamily tax exemption, they actually changed the definition without advertising it, where they put a subsection that basically said any other city that doesn't qualify for these other areas, as long as you do it before 2026. So therefore, this opened up that window of opportunity. We've looked at this for a number of years, but because of those previous disclaimers, we were not able to entertain this. So I know John and Greg have been working on this, trying to figure out the areas, because when you look at the code around the multifamily housing tax exemption, they're really aiming toward areas of density. So areas that are served by mass transit bus routes, near universities, commercial areas, things like that. So I know when you see the maps that are attached to this, you'll see a lot of the areas that are highlighted are areas around College Avenue, adjacent to university, and then also across from the high school as you go on South College Avenue. While some of that down there is zoned commercial, there is a multifamily face there. So really the crux of this is determine if this is really something that we want to have entertained. I think so. We have greater diversity of housing and try to get the density up, which then will in turn help with the small business community. It would be good because I know in the past there have been some developers that have looked, like for instance at Evergreen development, initially they looked over here, but when we couldn't offer it, they just moved on. So this is something that we can essentially entertain and look at as long as we adopt something like this before that 2026 wall. That's really a crux of a lot of the mechanics of it. John or Greg, do you have additional information to add?
Go ahead, John.
Well, I was just going to turn it over to Greg. But before that, we brought this to the Planning Commission this spring, and Greg presented it to them. There was a desire for the Planning Commission to get some feedback from the EDTEC committee to kind of get their take on it. So that's really the reason why we're having this joint meeting. With that, I'll turn it over to Greg, our planning consultant, but also it'd be nice to hear the thoughts of the EdTech Commission on what their thoughts are.
Great. Well, thank you. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess that's kind of a silly question because if you couldn't, how would you answer? But anyway, thank you very much. And John or Lisa, can I share the screen?
You should be able to share your screen, yes.
Okay, let's see if we can get that to work. I'm going to put up on the screen, and the planning commissioners that are in attendance tonight have seen this. Can you see the memo from me to the planning commission on the screen?
Yes.
Okay,
No.
great. And I'm going to try to make it a little bit bigger to see it. As Mike indicated, there's now an opportunity or a limited period of time for smaller cities such as College Place to provide a tax incentive to encourage the construction and rehabilitation of multifamily housing, provided that at least a portion of that project is affordable and accessible to low and moderate income persons. One of the first steps in the process is to identify a residential target area in accordance with the provisions of state law. And on the screen here, I was trying to kind of pop it up because it's a bit of a mouthful, but to a residential target area must be in an urban center, and an urban center is defined as a compact identifiable district where urban residents may obtain a variety of products and services. And so the notion of a defined area and is one of the key first steps. There has to be adequate public facilities. There has to be different types of businesses and uses and mixes of activities. And the area must lack available, desirable, convenient, affordable housing, which applies to pretty much all of the city and just about the entire Walla Walla region, as you know from the housing affordability study that was recently completed. And so the focus is really on the construction of multifamily housing or the rehabilitation of existing multifamily housing. And if certain criteria are met, then property taxes can be exempted for, in some cases, 12 years and in other cases, 20 years. So it is a way of reducing the initial costs. Now, over time, when the exemption expires, then there is the additional cost of the property taxes. But in theory, the rationale is as if that it is less costly to enter the market and get the project established and the income stream established, that then there will be a point in time in the future when it would be easier then to absorb or add to the project budget the additional property tax. So there's a couple of different ways of looking at this. One is when we go back to the notion of compact, well-defined urban area with a mix of uses and activities. Well, there's the downtown mixed-use zoning district, which by its name, you can kind of check off the different criteria. There is the area outside, there's the area that includes the university campus, but there's neighboring areas around the university that could potentially qualify. There are areas of the city that are zoned multifamily that could potentially qualify. There are areas that are zoned general commercial that could potentially qualify. So within the Planning Commission, there was some talk of, well, there's a lot of places that could meet the criteria, but if the goal is to encourage or stimulate investment that might not otherwise exist, what might be the appropriate areas to do so? John, do you have the map handy that it shows the multi-headed monster that seem to meet some of the criteria?
Yeah, I'll share my screen.
Then I think I need to stop sharing mine then, is that correct?
Or I'll just,
Or can you kick me off?
Yep.
Okay.
Can you see the map?
Yes.
Yeah.
So going back to, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Greg. I wasn't sure if we lost you or something.
Yeah, no. So going back to the notion of defined area, urban, compact, and a mix of uses, the focus, as kind of some of the initial thoughts and discussion, was right on the College Avenue corridor. And so we've got the area north of the university, the area immediately south of the university, and then further down the property that could be commercial and or multifamily in the McKiernan Christensen development area. So there was kind of three areas, kind of top, middle, and bottom, that came up in the Planning Commission discussion. There is an argument that there are vacant parcels that are out on Myra Road that arguably could be included. There are some other areas that arguably would meet the criteria, but that was kind of the first cut. And so, John or Mike, do you want to further comment on those areas?
Well, I mean, as far as the areas highlighted on College Avenue, again, we were trying to really gear up toward the areas that have the transit, the mixed use, and the density. As far as trying to overly encourage that multi-family type development on Myra Road, some of that land out there, we're really hoping to be commercial big box type developments. So essentially we could shoot ourselves in the foot if we were too happy making a lot of districts on Myra. But I believe doing the multifamily tax exemption on College Avenue and then even on the land across from the high school, that would be very beneficial, because one of the issues as far as getting the small business on College Avenue is to really, in order to have longer hours, it's getting the density, it's walkable and near it. So if we get that multifamily, just like how we went over with changing the language in the downtown catalyst, the hope is that we're getting more of a population center around College Avenue that'll really fuel the small business expansion, which you'll get more of a campus town-like feel and downtown feel, connecting everything together. So that's where I know as staff, we see that it would be really beneficial. And then also on McKiernan's property across from the high school, really, if you put apartments in there, that acts as a buffer to the residential, because you'd have the commercial right up front, up on College Avenue. And you really need a buffer to separate that from the single family that would be further to the west on Mr. Christensen's property. So that's why those areas on College Avenue are highlighted. And that's where we see that it would be beneficial. But yeah, we'll have to move on this in a very timely manner because of that poison pill window they put in the definition of a city in the RCW.
If the commission would like, we could talk more about the eligibility requirements in terms of the amount of housing that has to be available for low and moderate income, or if you have any other questions. One of the questions that came up from the Planning Commission is it a deferral of just the city's share of the property tax, or is it a deferral of the property tax? And it's our understanding that it's a deferral of the property tax, not just the city's share. So there would be a period of time when like the port, for instance, would not be receiving their share of the property tax. Now, on the other hand, you could argue that that if the development, the but-for test, if the development was not going to occur but for the tax exemption, then you could argue there was no loss of tax exemption or tax revenue in the short run because there otherwise wouldn't have been any. And in the long run, at the end of the exemption period, there would be a tax stream that otherwise wouldn't occur on into the future. So there is an argument to be made there, but it isn't an exemption of the property tax for a period of time. Questions from commissioners?
This
So
mainly benefits the buyer of a parcel.
Well, there's I think two potential benefits to this. One is that it because the tax exemption is tied to a certain number or percentage of the units being affordable to low and moderate income persons, it would benefit those individuals and families because there would be an additional supply of affordable housing in the community. And then depending on the nature of the development, the multifamily development, as to whether it would, to what extent it would benefit the project sponsor and to what extent it would benefit the other occupants, that depends on is kind of on a case-by-case assessment or evaluation of who ultimately benefits.
Okay.
And so the main thing that you are kind of, looking for opinions on is the, increasing the density from 12 units per acre to 15. Is that correct?
That part, I mean, we have subsequently have clarified because we had some we didn't have all of the up-to-date information in terms of changes that have been made to the zoning code. So it appears that from an eligibility standpoint, in terms of meeting the density thresholds, that's no longer an issue. The question is, are those areas, as outlined by John and discussed by Mike, are those appropriate areas to try to stimulate or encourage multifamily development. So that's kind of one question. And is the notion of providing a tax exemption for a limited period of time as an incentive, is that, in general terms, seem to be an appropriate addition to the city's toolkit? So is it an appropriate tool? And is the general areas highlighted on the map, do those seem to be appropriate? I think those are the two questions. Is that, John and Mike, appropriate?
Yeah, I mean, that basically encapsulates, basically, are you supportive of the program in general? Because then it's gonna move along the trajectory through planning commission and council and such. And then also, are you supportive of the areas? I would argue with that if and or but test. We've already seen that, because I know since I've been here, that evergreen development, I mean, we could argue the merits of it, the design of it and all of that, but they were looking at the Bell property, and as soon as I said we didn't have MFTE, they jumped and went to Walla Walla. So I believe we've already have seen that, some of the ramifications of not having it. So the other thing is, I would just advise, if we do go through this trajectory, that we keep it as malleable to the original intents of the RCW as much as possible. And what I mean by that is that Walla Walla, through community council, they're wanting to condition it on like several elements. Actually, in my opinion, would make it like an unusable code when you put like about 28 additions to it. So if we're gonna do this, it needs to be straightforward where a normal person could follow it. So that would just be my critique of the situation at hand.
Okay, well, I like the areas that were defined and outlined. I did like the sound initially of those areas that you mentioned on Myra, and then, Mike made his big box speech there for a second. I can dig that, I guess, but certainly, I just don't know. I had that vision of like those, those 3, 4, 5-story, kind of really cool multi-use, multi-family things, kind of like they put over there next to the Safeway in Walla Walla or something like that. So to me, this is a no-brainer. I would give a big thumbs up to this approach and get the MFTE out there. Mike, you're heavy on the acronym, so I'm barely keeping up.
Thank you. Is there any other comments from anyone on the EDTEC?
Well, thank you for humoring the planning commission. I'm sorry we didn't get a better turnout, but thank you for allowing our planning commission to join your meeting.
Yeah, thanks, John and Greg.
Your part.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
I'm going to jump off then, John and Mike. And John, I'll connect with you and we'll talk about next steps with the Planning Commission.
Okay, thank you.
Moving to the broadband report.
Yeah, this is us providing additional information because one of the items of that tech has been, are there additional providers coming and just what does that look like? So I'm not going to go over the whole PowerPoint, but the Walla Walla city manager and I, we were approached by this company called TDS. It's looking at making a run all over Southeast Washington. So just be aware that we'll be in franchise negotiations with them. And I just wanted to keep you up to date on that. If you want more information on them, you can read the PowerPoints attached. I'm not going to go verbatim on it, but just be aware that there's players looking at the area. Because I know we've talked in the past about just wanting reports on that one other people are looking at this region. So there you have it, and I'll keep you posted as additional dialogue transpires, because they made their presence known a couple weeks ago.
Okay, thanks, Mike. The Main Street Week report.
Yep, to update the tech body on this, so as you all know, a couple of weeks ago, you all made the motion to for me to write a grant that would basically cover the staffing cost of an executive director to try to get a downtown association going here, because the benefit of downtown association, if we get one going, is that businesses, they have to pay the state B&O tax. Instead, they could pledge it to the downtown association. The money stays local, and you aren't sending your money to Olympia, which benefits everyone. So it looks like we're pretty good to go on that, but they are having networking events. Last week, they're supposed to have one in Walla Walla for Main Street Week. However, most everyone who was organizing it got COVID and it was canceled. So Bruce, we'll go with myself to that when it gets rescheduled. They're just doing networking events all across the region. And it's very important we have representation. So hopefully we get the grant money, because that'll be a major game changer if we get that tax credit money. That can go toward business grants, events, a whole gamut of things. So I'll keep you posted on that as we know the new date whenever it gets released.
You feel confident they're definitely going to reschedule?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. Community events.
Do you want me to
Yeah.
take that one?
Yep.
So our farmers market has had 3, well, maybe 2.5 events. Week before last, we got stormed out, but it's doing pretty good. Last week was technically our 3rd week. We had well over 300 people come through the market as customers. Vendors are doing good, and with the weather staying cool, hopefully as long as it's not raining on Thursday, we should have a really good day on Thursday. Let me pull up the June schedule here. I believe Blue Zones is back. Yes, Blue Zones will be back with chef and cooking demonstrations this week. And we'll have, at the beginning of the market, we'll have McKaylee Smith. And then for the second or the last 2 hours of the market, Wolf Creek Band will be playing. Our market coordinator's been doing a really good job of getting things going and activities going. So we also are advertising in the Entertainer, as well as radio advertising and the Union Bulletin and that sort of thing, Facebook, social media. Our Freedom Festival, we have our vendor applications available. If you know food truck, crafts, vendors, we are looking for additional vendors. Usually they end up signing up late last week of the market or last week before the event, and it really kind of helps us if we can encourage people to sign up soon. It'll be again at the high school, and this year it is on July 3rd. We have Shanks Pony is our band for that event. The College Place High School cheerleaders are going to be operating a kids zone, so there will be activities for the kids zone, and we've got some food vendors. So this kind of tells Columbia REA, Connors Flooring, Meadowbrook Plaza, and College Place High School are all sponsors of the event. We'll have fireworks, and we're working on trying to recruit as many food trucks and vendors as we can get to give things for you to do while you're listening to the music and the kids are having fun. Here's the schedule for the cooking classes at the farm market. So this Thursday is going to be homemade fruit popsicles, and they'll be doing that. They're going to try and work as much as they can with vendors that are at the market in order to buy produce right there at the market. Movies in the park. We've got movies in the park, 4 of them scheduled. Blue Zones is sponsoring our movies in the park this year. And let me just make this just a little bit bigger, so we can see on July 9th will be our first movies in the park. We're doing Sonic the Hedgehog. Blue Zones will be there. They've been working closely with Mi Pueblito food truck, I believe is who they're going to have there. And then the city is going to be providing some popcorn. So the food truck will be on a cash basis, purchase your own, but the popcorn and the movie is free. So mark these dates on your calendars and encourage people to come out. They're all going to be at Lions Park. And does anybody have any questions?
Good stuff. Thanks, Lisa. The development update, Mike.
Hey, thank you. I'll just go over the parts that things that have changed. You can look at the spreadsheet to see the status of the various other projects because there's a lot going on. I would say the stuff that's most critical though is at the former Chase Bank. That is going to be a Chipotle with another tenant. That is moving full steam ahead. So we will have a Chipotle here. So that'll be awesome. Yeah, I had very extensive conversation with them at the retail convention. They're excited to come here. Also, that big housing developer we were working with out of Coeur d'Alene, they have closed on Craig Christensen's property. So that is happening. So John and I are working with them on what the phasing and all the dynamics will be, but that is moving forward. So those are the most critical ones. There's a lot of other ones that are pretty close to getting finalized, but you can read those in the spreadsheet that is up there. The ones that I just mentioned are the critical pathway ones. Also Goodwill. They are going to be having their ribbon cutting on August 17th. They have not confirmed the actual time yet. They've just said the date. So as soon as they say what time it is, then we can send out the respective invites, and likely we'll have to advertise that because we'll probably hit a quorum of one of the
I'll
committees.
just advertise potential quorum for any of the city committees.
Yeah.
And that way we're covered.
Yep, but yeah, Goodwill, they want a pretty big ribbon cutting, so we will do that. So, but beyond that, yeah, please look at the spreadsheet. If anyone has any questions as to the status of things, let me know. For just for new folks that haven't looked at this, any of the projects that have like a code name are ones where we can't say who they are yet, but if you look at the name, you could sleuthing it out, you could figure it out. So I'll just leave it there. And that's the update on that. Any questions?
So the Christensen that you said that got signed by.
That has closed. They have not turned in phasing yet. We don't know what it'll look like, but as far as the notion of the developer is actually going there, that part we know. So they'll be working on the critical pathway of figuring out the design and everything else. I know they've had a drone survey on the property and stuff. So they seem to be on the critical pathway.
Good deal. All right, thanks, Mike. No meeting in July. We're making note of that. And August. No meeting
Yeah.
July, no meeting in August.
Yeah, both
Okay.
of our meeting dates fall when I'm on vacation, those two respective months. So are they gonna need to make a motion for that, Lisa, or can they?
That would be great, just to.
Yeah, if someone on EdTech could make a motion that you're okay with canceling those two meetings, that would be great. If some critical comes up, we can send out a special meeting notice, but those 2 weeks, one in July and August, like I won't be here, so.
Okay, can we get a motion to cancel July and August meetings?
So moved. This is Doug.
A second, please.
This is Kyle, and I second.
Thank you, Kyle. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Lisa, do we need a motion to conclude the meeting also? I can't remember.
It's not required as long as there's no objections.
Okay, any objections if we conclude the meeting, gang? Hearing none. Signing off. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See you in September.